Hey, moron!
Hey, moron!
Dude! Look at me! I'm the waterboard, dude!
Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here. Of course, Joe Boo's holding down the red brick house, but we do have Joe Bear. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. It's kind of crazy because I feel like I'm living multiple lives here. This is where it all started here in Joe Boo's Man Cave, and I just can't seem to be here enough. I'll be here for at least a few days, building cabinets and doing some other things and all that. But, you know, it's funny because when I'm here, I miss the red brick house. When I'm at the red brick house, I miss being here. It's kind of crazy, to be honest with you, but I'm happy to be here with you guys. Unfortunately, I had to take care of a bunch of things yesterday evening and really did not get caught up with the combine. I know a lot of people are, pumped up because it's the combine, and there's others like Momo that are like, it's ridiculous to see it. At least we can get the cliff notes. The reality is a lot of players will rise and fall because of what happens in the combine. And sometimes people make snap decisions because of what happens in the combine. And typically, those are teams that don't do enough homework. And they'll see a guy that just looks, oh my God, he's so fast. His 40 time is incredible. His bench press is great. But then they don't look at the body of work that came with it and the amount of experience that they had leading up to the combine. I like to think of it like this, at least when I went to school. I don't know what it's like today. School is totally different than when I went to school. I remember, going to elementary school and literally milk was 4 cents. My mom had this little brass velvet lined container that she had pennies in. And so I would take 4 cents to get my milk, and she packed my lunch. So things are different now, of course, today than when I went to school. But when you took the SATs, we had the SAT prep courses. You didn't necessarily have that much knowledge, but you knew how to take the test. They taught you, if you don't know the answer, C. C is more likely than any other one. But basically, you practice for the test, not for having the knowledge to take the test. And that's the same thing for future NFL players. They train for the test. They work on their standing broad jump. They work on their 220-pound press. They work on their 40 time, get the best shoes and stuff and get their stance just right. Most of these things that they're going to do at the combine are not really things that translate to the field. They really don't. And you're going to see the workout warriors that all of a sudden their stock, at least by ESPN and everybody else, and Mel Kiper, oh my God, he's a can't miss player. If I had $1 for every time I heard can't miss player, I'd probably be rich. Seriously. I remember when Clowney blew everybody away with his 40 time, and they said that he was going to be a perennial All-Pro. He had an okay career, but I don't think he ever got double-digit sacks. I don't think he's ever had double-digit sacks. And so for those out there that say, oh, what are you talking about? Clowney's great. I want you to think about Micah Parsons then. For those of you out there that say Micah Parsons sucks, he's had double-digit sacks every single year of his career. He wasn't the number one pick. We actually traded back to get him. And nobody wanted Dak Prescott. Let's be clear here. I don't even think the Cowboys really wanted Dak Prescott. They just kind of said, well, we need a quarterback. There's a guy. They say that guy's a quarterback. Draft him. You just don't know. And nobody wanted Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy is standing to be a $60 man. So the combine, it's nice. It's a tool. But you really still have to have all of your work done by the scouts. And the Cowboys have in the past done things that have screwed themselves up in the draft. One is that they've always been pretty good with first round draft picks. I think they really do their homework. But this philosophy in the past has been, let's find a guy for whatever reason is in the second round that should be a first round guy. And it's usually guys that everybody else kind of says, I'm okay. I'll wait till later. The Cowboys' reliance on injured players has always done them a disservice. They never reach the potential that you hope. Damone Clark right now, granted he was not a second-round pick, but he ended up having to get his back fused before his rookie season. We literally lost the first year. He played pretty good, but without a training camp, with coming in here cold, basically, you stunted his growth. And we're at the point of he may be a cap casualty and has never produced what you had hoped. When you think about a guy like Boss Man Fat, when you think about a guy like Taco Charlton, the Cowboys, when they have had to draft for need, typically have screwed the pooch. They've been better at drafting the best player available, and I think this is why the Cowboys are looking at bringing back Osa. We heard rumors that the deal was close. Maybe we hear about it today. Nothing would make me happier than to hear that Osa Ndigizula's contract is done. Of course, talking about that yesterday, people are like, $21 million, that's too much. People, what you have to understand is this. The salary cap is going up. $21 million today, next year will be like $18 million. Because the salary cap is going up. I kept telling people kept saying, all the talking heads out there and the experts are saying, the salary cap's not going up as much this year, that it's going to be like 10, maybe 15 at best. That's what the talking heads told you. That after the big upswell because of the new contract last year, that it was going to flatten out. But Mark Holmes kept telling you, I think it's going to be about 283. Because I look and I see all the new sources of revenue that are coming. And so here's the thing, that if you are looking forward, so see, this is what you have to understand. You can't just live in the present. You have to make decisions that plan for the future. I pointed out, if you want to do the math numbers, just do this. Real easy, real simple thing. Take the amount of weeks of the season, because that's how the players get their checks. They get 18 game checks, 18 weeks. So that means their salary is divided up by 18. Then, of course, there's off-season workouts and bonus money that's paid differently. But just hypothetically, to play this idea. If you think that the salary cap is not going to continue to go up, think about what Roger Goodell wants right now. He wants an 18-game season. So, with an 18-game season will come a second bye week. So what we're now talking about is 20 weeks in the season. So guess what? That means there's 2 more weeks of gambling. There's 2 more weeks of television. Just because your team doesn't play on 2 of those weeks doesn't mean that you're not watching football, because you are. I'm watching the Eagles, I'm watching the Commanders, I'm watching the Giants. Keeping all this up. Divide the $21 billion of gross receipts right now in the NFL. Divide that by 18, because that's how many weeks there are. Okay? That'll give you somewhere, well over $1 billion. Okay? I know I'm doing this in my head again. Divide that number by 32. And then multiply it by 2, because it's 2 weeks. That's giving you how much money the NFL makes in a week. You're getting 2 more weeks. Then multiply it by 0.48, which is the percentage of the players. And what you get is about $17 million of cap money, just by adding that extra week onto the season. That's coming, people. So you're going to get that money. You've already got now Netflix, who's trying to get CBS's or Fox's slot. They're not going to take it for the same amount. The NFL is not going to move CBS's package to Netflix unless it's more money. And if Netflix offers more money, I'm sure that the NFL is more than happy to say, CBS, we got a deal here for your portion that's an extra $1 billion. Would you like to get into the bidding? And they're not going to want to lose it. So all of a sudden you look at that and say, there you go. You got games now in Australia. You got another game going back to Brazil. This thing is going to grow. So it behooves you, and it's crazy that I've said the same thing before. I believe I said this when Dak was the finishing year number 3. It behooves you to get Dak Prescott signed now because the money is going to go up. Sign a guy today, but you'll be paying for it with the extra money that you make down the road. That's exactly what the Eagles have been doing. And it's the reason why they are able to sign all these players. And we say, how do the Eagles keep doing it? Because they recognize that I'm signing a guy today, but paying for it with tomorrow's interest. You've got to live in the future. Jalen Hurts, they've kicked $97 million to 2029 in void money. Because at the current rate of attrition, salary cap's going to probably be up another $150, $200 million. The salary cap is $400 million, and you got 97 million there. It's not quite as bad as it would be right now, percentages. So my hope is we do, in fact, get Osa done. DeMarcus Lawrence agent says D-Law is 100% healthy, which is great news. And he's optimistic about actually coming back for the Cowboys. Now, let's hope that the Cowboys can sign like a 2-year team-friendly deal that's full of incentives that basically, they have a way of basically spreading this out and bringing him back. If you bring back a healthy D-Law and he can stay healthy with Osa Odighizuwa along with Micah Parsons, and if Marshawn Nealon can stay healthy and take a step, you're getting a little bit better with Mozzie Smith there. That defense doesn't look quite as bad. And if you go ahead and get Micah Parsons done and have that extra money, then maybe you make a grand scheme. You go for a great defensive lineman to go with those guys to have a great rotation. Then all bets are off. If you do these things, then you can look at the draft and say, we don't have to draft a particular position. They've set themselves up where it looks like my guy, Cooper Beebe is going to be staying at center, and I'm happy about that. I don't like to changing positions. The Cowboys end up being mad scientists. I'm taking Tyler Guyton, who was a right tackle, and saying, hey, welcome to the NFL. You're now going to have the hardest position in football, and we're going to reverse everything you do. And I think that that's part of the learning curve that happened for for Tyler Guyton, is the speed of the NFL, and now everything is backwards. Hopefully this year will be better. And the same thing with Cooper Beebe having a year and now being engaged. I actually look and say that that's pretty good, that he will be really good. Tyler Guyton, we'll see. Tyler Smith, stud. Brock Hoffman, possibly an emerging star that maybe can replace Zach Martin. And we'll see with Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele will be better being more run-centric. And so that's the hope right there. And if these things work out, maybe it's a wide receiver that ends up being, that's a stud. Maybe it's Austin Gentry. Who knows? But the Cowboys are guaranteed that one of the positions, probably they'll be able to get the number one prospect. And in the first round, that's what the Cowboys like to do. They like to get the highest rated prospect at a position. And at 12, you can do that. And that would be a great plan, because last year where we went into the draft knowing we didn't have a starting left tackle, we didn't have a starting center, we didn't really have, our defensive end, defensive tackles, linebackers that we knew we've got all these positions we got to fill, and that we're on a wing and a prayer hoping that the guys we draft are going to be able to fit the bill. So we'll talk more about some of the combine numbers and stats and stuff later today. But I want to get back to Brian Schottenheimer. And I have to say, I am more and more impressed with Brian Schottenheimer the more that I hear from him. And I want you to listen to this interview with Brian Schottenheimer. I think he's actually going to be very, very good.
Waiting to be a head coach, and now here you are at the end. Brian Schottenheimer, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you. I hope you didn't have to wait that long, because it was a long time, a long journey, and many stories. But happy to be here.
I'm very happy that you're here. Happy for you. Congratulations on the gig. We were just talking off air about, I see a few tattoos you have. Tell me about your most important one.
Yeah, so my son and he wanted to get a tattoo about 3 years ago, and I was like, if you're going to get one, maybe I'll go with you and try it out. And I got my first one. And for people that don't have them, they're addicting.
Yeah.
You get one, you start thinking about what the next one is. But probably my favorite one is on my wrist here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I call it my life license plate. So it's Tennessee, which is home, and then my wife's birthday, and then my son's birthday and my daughter's birthday. So I have it there, so if I'm watching film, usually I got my hand laying on the desk, I can kind of see it, and it reminds me that no matter how good things are or how bad things are, that I'm grounded with that life license plate.
I like that. Had you heard of that before, or did that just kind of pop up in your head?
No, actually, last summer, truly the first day of summer vacation, my son picked me up at the airport. I flew back to our home in Tennessee, and we were talking about tattoos.
Yeah.
And he was talking about what he might want, and he was driving, and we were following a car, and literally I saw a license plate, and it had Tennessee on it, obviously. And the thought came to me that, like, okay, well, what would my numbers be? And I started thinking about important numbers to me, and it just kind of became very clear to me. And so I think it was not a day or two later that I was there getting it put on.
That's awesome. Was just over listening to you talk at the podium with other media, and you mentioned something. Obviously, you used to work with Pete Carroll, and you had mentioned how he called you back in 2017 when you were with Indianapolis, and you still had his number saved because you had his number from 2001. Brian, how did you have a number saved in your phone from 2001? Did you not? How many numbers do you have saved?
Well, quite a few, obviously. In this profession, you need to have them because you never know when you're going to need a job. But the part of the story I didn't share, which is actually pretty cool, was when Pete came into USC. I was coaching the tight ends there for Paul Hackett. Paul got fired. Pete came in, and we talked. And he literally was like, Brian, I'd love to try to find a way to keep you, but at this point, I can't guarantee you that spot. And I said, okay. I said, I understand. And he said, I've kind of promised a job to somebody really close to me, their son. And I didn't think anything of it. I'm a coach's kid. Well, if you can imagine, Pete and Monty Kiffin were very, very close.
Yep.
And so the new tight end coach at USC was none other than Lane. And so I think that's kind of a cool part of the story. I ended up going to Washington to work for my dad, and Lane came there to work for Pete.
You are it's so clear, a football historian, obviously with your pedigree, but the amount of time and preparation and effort that you have put into being ready for this moment. What is it going to look like for you on, not even yet to the sideline, but when we get into, when the guys get back, right, for OTAs, when they're there for voluntary work, when we get to training camp, what are you going to be like as a head coach that you didn't have the opportunity to be in your previous roles because you weren't the guy?
I honestly don't think I'll change a whole lot. I'm very authentic. I'm very humble. I'm a high-energy guy. I'm passionate about the game, the fact we get to coach and play a game on grass where literally you're allowed to throw your body around. I don't think I'll change. I think if I'd say anything, just maybe some of the conviction of things where, okay, this is how we're doing it, whereas in the past it was like, well, hey, I really think we should maybe do it this way or that way, and whoever the head coach was wanted to do something a little bit different. But I'm a huge culture guy, man. I believe in people. I love people. I think I'm an incredible connector. I love to get to know people and their story. That's one of the best parts about being here in Indy, doing these interviews, is you're hearing some incredible stories from these young men that have done so many incredible accomplishments, but most people have no idea the trials and the things that they had to come through. And so, that's something that's so important to me, and that will never change. I am who I am, and good or bad, I want to stay consistent, but it's going to be exciting.
You talk about doing things your way. Are you going to ask Jerry to put up some blinds at AT&T Stadium?
Really? We're doing that in my first combine as a head coach? You're going to ask about that?
Yeah, really?
I think we've answered that question last year a little bit. It's a beautiful stadium.
It is a beautiful stadium. There's no doubt about it. How's Dak doing in his road to recovery?
Doing great. Talked to him today. Actually just called to check in. Had another issue I need to talk to him about, and he's doing great. You guys know him. The way he works is he's certainly, I haven't asked him this. I'm sure he's ahead of schedule.
Sure.
That's the only way he knows to do it. But I think he's really excited about the staff we've put together, as all are the guys. I mean, my big thing that I try to do, Jonathan, is I walk the halls, man. You know, I want to be seen. I want to be around. I don't sit up in my office. There's certainly 1,000 things I could be doing, but I want to be around the guys, and I want to go talk to the guys in the training room. Just say hello. Just check in. Talked to a couple guys last week that just got back from the Super Bowl and just kind of how that was. And but our players are excited. They know what we're capable of doing. They know what's coming, and I think that fires me up.
You were such a culture guy. That's what I've heard about you for a while. Does culture? This is a philosophical question. Does culture breed winning, or does winning breed culture?
It's a great question. I think you start with culture, because I think when you get people aligned, that breeds winning. Because there's going to be tough days. There's going to be tough games that, quite honestly, you don't play very well and you're going to lose. It's the National Football League, and if the culture's not right, I think it makes it a lot harder to overcome those difficult situations and stretches. I know, DQ and I are obviously very close.
Sure.
And he and I talk, at least once a week, and they experienced that a little bit this year in Washington. And what an incredible year they had. But they had some tough roads, and the fact that the culture was right, and DQ's so amazing at that they were able to withstand that, and they finished strong and went on to have the type of year that they had.
Part of culture is making sure that you take care of the guys in the locker room who have earned their deals. And Micah Parsons, obviously, I know that you don't control the purse strings. We don't have to get into where things stand, because that's not a question for you. However, the last couple of years, this has been a team that some contract issues have lingered, and they've gone on a little bit into camp and past camp. How nice would it be to have this sewn up as early as possible for you, for the culture that you're trying to embed here?
Yeah, I think, it's a great question. It's a fair question. Each negotiation is different, right? They're all different. There's got to be a mutual agreement amongst the parties. Sometimes that takes time. We all have egos in this business, sure. Myself included. You probably as well.
You're right.
I don't know you well enough.
That's right. I have an ego.
Yeah, okay. But again, look, at the end of the day, the main thing is that when we get people done, when we get them on board, when the contracts are signed, again, the culture and the people and the relationships that we're going to build will be so strong and so powerful. It doesn't mean it's all, always, perfect and fun and happy. There's going to be hard conversations. That's, I think, a strength of mine is I'm not afraid to have hard conversations. I believe that's being an elite communicator, is to have the hard conversations. And but again, if you had a crystal ball and you could say, if we had it done by this, it'd be amazing, of course. But at the end of the day, these things in the NFL with the big business that we're all involved in is it's complicated at times.
Last question for you. The Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, typically every year one considers them the standard. Okay, they went to the mountaintop and they summited that. How far away would you consider your group, the Dallas Cowboys, from summiting that same mountain?
I think we're close. I really do. Again, I think there's things that we need to do better, that we will do better.
Like what?
Taking care of the football offensively, getting back to generating more turnovers. I mean, really, I'll just tell you kind of our football mantra. I mean, at the end of the day, it starts with winning the turnover battle. I come from a father that won 200 games basically doing that, protecting the football and taking it away. We're committed to owning both sides of the line of scrimmage. I think, your offensive and defensive line, they set the mindset for your football team, and that won't change. I really believe in, attacking with your playmakers. We've got some incredible playmakers. CD's an incredible playmaker. Mike is an incredible playmaker, amongst others. And the last one is be multiple. But in being multiple, what you have to do is be multiple based on what you do well. And those are the things that we don't maybe know today, because there's still holes in the roster that we're trying to figure out how the puzzle all fits together. But the best part of this league is truly any team can win it.
Yep.
And when we get back to work here in April, that's going to be the goal. I don't shy away from talking about that goal. I mentioned that in my press conference. We want to win the World Championship, and otherwise, why would you do it?
I'm excited for you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the time.
Appreciate
that was
you,
a
Brian
great interview.
Schottenheimer.
That was a great interview. So, that's just getting to know Brian Schottenheimer a little bit. I have to say, at least, as opposed to Mike McCarthy, I would rather listen to him, because you know what? He gives well thought out answers. You don't feel like he's bullshitting, okay? He's not up there with the trust the process and, no, he's straightforward with you. And I feel like maybe this is a guy who's had enough seasoning and training and seen enough different things that you can believe that maybe he might not be as bad as what some people are out there saying. Michael Irvin is definitely a guy who's just like, this guy's an idiot. I keep trying to tell you, this is not Jeff Saturday being hired as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. All righty, good people, it's going to be a very, very busy day, and hopefully we'll get to be able to do a little something here with the Combine this afternoon. So let me go ahead and start getting things handled. I'm Mark Holmes, and as always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and be safe out there. Peace.